Let's talk about video directing a live stream for a church gathering or any other type of live event. Video is easily my favorite area of live production. I love calling cameras and communicating with the team where we want to go next. Hi everybody, my name is Nathan from Crazy Amazing Designs, and I help teams and individuals to do church and event production with excellence. I've been on staff at a church for the past few months as the media production director, and this weekend I'm finally have scheduled myself to video direct here for the first time. And I'm super excited. So to make sure that I'm not super rusty, I put together a list of some of my best advice for people in this position, in your position. Maybe if you're watching this video, you're gonna video direct for the first time soon, you're like, I just need some pointers. It's easy to think video directing is just about choosing the best camera angles from the many options on the multi-view, but really the job is to tell the story, to eliminate distractions and help focus people's attention on what matters most. So in my context, in the local church, that is the good news of Jesus. If your church does video on screens or IMAG, which is video magnification, then you are also helping create proximity between your audience and the speaker, in terms between your audience and the good news of Jesus. For us, service 1 starts at 9 a.m., but first we have a production meeting at 8:45 a.m. So before that, I'd like to give you a look at the equipment we're going to be using in today's broadcast. We have a super simple setup with 3 PTZ cameras mounted around our room. Here's a look at our stage, and it's a lot bigger than it looks from the cameras mounted in the room. On stage here we have our 4th PTZ camera, which is on a tripod that we use to get a bunch of different angles of the worship team. And at some point we might also move a 2nd PTZ off the wall and to our stage in the coming weeks, I'm not sure. But not having to zoom in 100+ feet is really awesome. We also have a static Marshall camera mounted on an arm showing the piano. We recently made some of these changes, moving the PTZ to the stage and having the Marshall on the stage so that we have some closer shots of what's going on. And if we look at some of these comparison images between what we did have and what we now have in terms of the camera shot we were able to get on a person, and now the camera shots we're able to get from the stage, it's night and day, so it's really nice to be able to mix it and stuff like that. So our video control room is located in the back house left corner of our gym. So let's look at the control room. Our broadcast audio console is receiving inputs from the Dante audio network and sending its mix to our ATEM switcher. So then on the video end, we have a rack that contains our video switcher, or some SSD recorder, a monitor to show program, and an input and output patch bay in the back. There's a bunch of other stuff in there, so we'll have to do another video in the future to show you a more detailed setup. The ATEM control panel is what we're using to control the ATEM switcher. We also have a quad multi-view being generated of the 4 PTZ cameras so that the operator has their own screen that just shows their 4 cameras they're responsible for. I usually lead the production meeting prior to the first service, so during this meeting I'm going to walk us through the order of service and then we're going to pray together. This is our final opportunity to share last minute changes, to talk over transitions, for the pastor to let the worship team know when to come out on stage after the message, and then we take time to pray together. This is a fantastic way for everyone involved in the service to know what is happening. And something that I like to say is that we believe excellence honors God and it inspires people. And that's one reason why we do this meeting. With so many moving parts, it's critical to keep everyone on the same page. This meeting is so important in my mind in what we do on a Sunday morning that I'm going to do a dedicated video. I've got one planned that I'm going to put together on this topic. Now, while we've been in this production meeting, the announcement loop has been on the screen, but now we're entering the final stretch. The countdown gets added to the screen for the final 5 minutes. In these last moments, this is a great opportunity to prep the tight shot on our worship leader and put that in preview. The band comes out at 1 minute, and then we can make any last minute framing adjustments to the cameras that we intend to use in the first few seconds of the stream. So as the countdown hits 0, we put the worship leader in program as she says, "Good morning everyone, we're live, welcome." Well, they don't say the live part, but "Good morning, welcome to church, we're so glad you're here." Or anything else that they're gonna say to welcome the people to church that morning. So now that we know what happens, let's take a look at my short list of being a good video director. These is a bunch of things that I think would just really help anybody in any level of video directing. Number 1 is testing your gear. One reason that live is so much fun is because there are no do-overs. When it's time to be live, you better be ready. Some examples of this, we set our Resi encoder to begin streaming just to the platform 60 minutes before the gathering. That way it gives us plenty of time during rehearsal to log in and check, confirm things are working, that we're getting an image out, and it's just not a good excuse when service starts and it's like, why aren't we streaming? I don't know, did you check it? No. It's always good to have like a test stream set up if that's what works for your context, but when you're using Resi, you can set up to stream it early, because then you can log in and check it. And Resi is a really cool platform, and one of the things you can actually do on it is you can actually set up a scheduled user so that their only thing they can see, their only privileges are to be able to see this early streaming stuff. So send them a login, and then they can literally, their responsibility is to check it on a Sunday morning. That way you can have kind of accountability, other people checking to make sure stuff is good. Another thing to check is that we have control of our PTZ cameras. We want to make sure that we can move them when we're ready to move them, and we don't want to get into the service. Our cameras aren't working. We don't know why. Also, check that your batteries are full. If you have man cameras or mobile cameras, make sure all of your batteries got charged overnight. It's kind of like the worship team making sure that their packs have batteries and that they all charge successfully. If stuff doesn't look like it's charged, that's a problem. We need to work through that. Something else to check is that the audio is coming through. It's just so important that through all the steps, this stuff can be really complicated or really simple, but checking stuff makes you a better. So it's just so important that you go through and check your gear, make sure that everything is working properly, at least to the best of your abilities. It's really embarrassing starting a gathering or an event or a service, and you're like, oh, our cameras aren't working, or we're not streaming. It's like, why? Oh, we didn't check it. I didn't think about it. You know, that's not a position you want to be in. There's just so much in this idea of testing your gear, making sure that you don't find yourself in some awkward position. Okay, so the second idea that I have is know your audience. So whether you're streaming to online only, or you're streaming to IMAG only, or you're streaming to both online and in-person viewers that are watching on screens, this is gonna change the way that you do your broadcast, whether you use more wide shots or less wide shots. If we are online only, then we only have to think about our online people. Therefore, they're gonna wanna see just as much wide stuff as tight stuff because they don't have context in the room. Or if your broadcast is going to online and IMAG, then you have to think about the people in the room not caring about the wide shots. They wanna see tight shots, whereas the online people, they wanna see just as many wide shots as tight shots. So you really wanna think about your audience to know who's watching, how do we make this broadcast best for our audience. Number 3 is to know your event. This is including songs, transitions. For us, the pulpit comes in and out, the podium, videos, teaching, special situations. Like, know what's going on. And that's kind of going back to the production meeting and how valuable that is of a tool for us to communicate and talk over our service. We also use Planning Center so that everybody can see the order and we talk about it in advance. But it's so important to know these elements. You don't want to get into a gathering and then be like, I don't know what's going on. My very first time video directing, I enjoyed it, but my biggest struggle was I didn't know the transitions. I didn't know where we were going next and when I needed to be on stuff. So ask questions and figure out where you need to be and what you need to be doing. That way you can make the best decisions in the moment. Okay, number 4, investing in your team. Equipping and training for success, encourage growth, ask and answer questions. Know when to have fun and when to be professional. Investing in your team is one of those things that is so important. Answering questions about cameras, answering questions about angles, teaching them, communicating with them, helping them to understand not just what we're doing here, not just that we're putting video on the screen or to the online audience, but we're reaching people with the gospel here. Casting vision is a part of investing in your team, helping them to understand why we do this, not just that we do this, that their production might be what we do, but it's not who we are. We are Jesus followers, and our goal is to help people increase in faith, help people's faith grow and their relationship with God grow. And that is such an exciting opportunity. Number 5 is communicating well. Be clear with instructions and take responsibility. Communicate well. Know your language. Ready 1, take 1. Ready camera 7, take camera 7. Communicate well. Know what's going on. Be clear with your instructions. And going back to the whole teaching thing, ask for a 2-shot, ask for the 3-shot. Be clear with your instructions, and the whole team training goes into the whole communication piece as they understand what you're talking about. Because they'll remember, oh, we talked about that the other day when we were talking through this, or in the morning, depending on if you have a lot of new people that aren't used to working together, communicating in the morning and having your own production team meeting, explaining some of these things that you're going to be asking for is super important. Number 6, telling a good story. Craft a compelling narrative. Operate with deliberation. Gauge the tempo. Sometimes it's going to be slow. Sometimes you're going to have moments that are really fast and you're going to want to cut more angles and more cameras. Don't simply push buttons. Push the buttons that truly matter. And I think this is so important. Telling a good story. Push the buttons. Can I say that again? Push the buttons that truly matter. Don't simply push buttons. Tell a good story. A good story is going to flow. It's going to have purpose. What we do has to have purpose, because if it's just a bunch of people hanging out together, it's really not benefiting the church or the people. Have a good purpose of what you're doing. Number 7 is to be flexible. I like to say that maximum preparation allows for maximum flexibility. When a camera goes down, you might be asked to troubleshoot while actively directing, but you have to not turn your focus away from what you're doing. Be flexible in the context that you're okay with one less camera. You're okay with putting people on a position that they're going to work themselves into, but they're not quite there yet. They're not maybe as good as your other camera operators. Be flexible in understanding that you have to build people, and that's the job of what we're doing here. Video directing is one of those things that I think if you can't be flexible in, you're gonna really struggle when it comes time to pivoting. And pivoting could be number 8, but it's not. Continually be learning is number 8. Pivoting really could be the next one, but pivoting goes really well into being flexible. Okay, so number 8 is continually be learning. Never stop learning, never stop asking why or how. Push the limits, push boundaries. In our case, this might not look like adding an extra 30 foot of LED wall to your stadium tour than the previous tour did, or engineering another 30 floors to make your building taller than the last one. Maybe innovation in your case is trying something new that you've never tried before, or taking a risk on somebody or something, or push the limits. Be flexible, continually be learning, and continually be investing. My final thoughts are, don't forget to bring in the lyric key. That was a joke. Don't forget to bring in the lyric key. Has anybody ever remembered to bring in the lyric key? I mean, let's be honest. Why is that the most challenging thing? Bringing in the lyrics. How many times have I video directed, or how many times have a lot of you video directed and you're like, the lyrics aren't in? Oh my, that's rough. I went to a Christian music festival a couple of summers ago, and the first 2 nights of this huge event, during the evening sessions, the IMAG on the massive LED walls were bad. It wasn't just me, it was a whole bunch of other people said this. It was not pretty. The first night, they had a PTZ camera at front of house. I'm not hating on PTZs. And the amount of attention that it was given made it look like the video director was also running the PTZ camera. I like to say with PTZs that typically you get like one person, one brain doing the job of multiple brains, like up to 4 brains. So you got one person running 4 PTZ cameras, so you basically have one person's brain doing the job of 4 brains. The second night they had a guy up there on a manned camera at front of house, but he couldn't keep it straight. I said hello to him, and as we talked, he said I should come over in the morning and introduce myself. So I did, and on day 3, the next 2 nights, I was up there running the camera myself, and I got involved in the team, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you up here. And my tracking was nearly perfect. I had like 2 times where I lost my tracking for a couple of seconds. Here was one of them. It's kind of funny. I was on my phone filming, and I didn't expect him to stand up. At one point, I even switched out with a high school student that was in our group so that I could grab dinner. He absolutely killed it. Video directing is so much fun. 90% of the work goes in before we are live, because once you're live, there's only so much that can change. If your camera position is in the wrong location, then you should have realized that before going live. Once we're live, there's no longer opportunity to move your camera over 30 feet. For anything that is not a permanent setup, it's a great idea to talk about camera placement and event pre-planning. And if you're interested in seeing a video on this topic, leave a comment. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you being here as I help teams and individuals do church and event production with excellence. My name is Nathan from Crazy Amazing Designs. Love having you here. Love sharing what I do and sharing some cool stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.